Welcome to the ATL Arts Collective, powered by ArtsATL. If you're curious about the people making Atlanta a more creative, interesting, and joyful city, you are in the right place. I'm Kim Drobes. This is a highly collaborative show, and each week we bring you reporting from ArtsATL writers, conversations with local creators, and insights from a featured guest contributor. Today, that guest is award-winning reporter and writer Jewel Wicker. She's an Atlanta native who covers culture for Billboard, GQ, Teen Vogue, the AJC, and so much more. Plus, she's currently working on her debut narrative nonfiction book, Take It to Trial. Hi, Jewel. Welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. So Jewel will be hanging out with us for the whole show. And later on, she's sharing a fascinating story on the rise of writers using pen names. We'll learn what we gain in privacy versus what we lose in connection when we hide our real names. Also on the show today, Jasmine Henschel from GULCH magazine drops in for our series Making It Work, where we look at how local artists actually pay their rent. Today, she's speaking with designer and furniture maker Robby Simon. Plus, we'll take a trip to Eyedrum's Monday Night Creative Music Series, and Shane Harrison joins us with his best bets for the weekend. But first, the Jimmy Awards, the national prize for high school musical theater performers, is basically the high school Tonys. And this year's winner is one of Georgia's own, Jake James, a rising senior at Milton High School. ArtsATL editor-at-large Benji Carr recently sat down with Jake to talk about the big win.
At the Minskoff Theater on Broadway in June at a live-streamed event hosted by Bowen Yang, 17-year-old Jake James captivated audiences both in the theater and across the country by performing a song from the musical Parade. In his solo, James portrayed Leo Frank, a Jewish man who was falsely accused of a child's murder in Atlanta in 1913.
I know I must seem cold. I never touched that girl. You think I'd hurt a child yet? I'd hardly seen her face before. I swore we'd barely met.
James said embodying the role in that moment was difficult.
What would I do if I was in the situation? So I thought about that a lot. But also, I mean, I can relate it to times where people may think something of me that isn't true, or rumors. They're like, that happens on a daily basis. Rumors spread, people think things and they're not true. How do you address that? How frustrated does that make you depending on what they're about? That beat that I took, that breath that I took, actually, I felt it in the moment. And I was looking over the music and it said, follow the voice. So basically the piano was waiting on me. I could wait however long I wanted. And so I was like, in that moment, how do I storytell the fact that he knows that people aren't going to like that he's about to say that? Like, he knows that they're going to be mad that he said that, because everyone in that trial is against him and wants him to be guilty. And so it's like, how do you take that beat where he's thinking about saying it and then he actively makes the choice to say that? I think is a lot thinking in the present tense, like, how does that character feel right now in this moment? Not, don't think about how you're going to say the line. Think about what you're feeling in that moment before that beat, before you even say the line, is one of the most important parts of that.
James, who won the State High School Musical Theater Prize, the Schuler Hensley Award, from Artsbridge Foundation, said the week of rehearsal for the Jimmies was daunting, but his local work with Milton High and City Springs Theater left him well prepared.
I was worried when I showed up. I was like, I really hope that it's not going to be like a competition and whoever gets in whose group is going to create a status change and it's going to be cliquey. But I made sure I did a good job of no matter what happens, I want to be friends with everyone and make as many connections as I could and use this opportunity as a way to grow rather than as a competition. Even when picking the songs, I was like, competition aside, what do I want to present myself to these amazing casting directors and amazing people in this industry? What do I want to use to show them, regardless of competition? They do a really good job when you get there. They talk to you like, forget about the competition. We understand that's why we're all here, but you guys all won your regional award. Like, you all won your state. You guys are all winners. Come here and learn and use this as a base to make connections for the industry. So it was always in the back of our heads that like it's a competition, but when we were there in the rehearsals and everything, it was really communal and everyone's so nice. It was amazing.
James said winning the Jimmy for his work has been a dream come true.
There's not any words. I mean, you can ask anyone like that has been in a situation like that. You don't know. I don't know how to feel. I still don't know how to tell people what I was feeling. Like, I'm still trying to figure it out. I will say I was shocked. I don't know if you can tell on the recording. I'm like, what? I was totally shocked and like, yeah, insane, surreal. Not a feeling that I'd felt before.
And now, the 2026 Jimmy Award for the Best Performance by an Actor goes to Jake James.
During his acceptance speech, James even went so far as to thank his haters for motivating him to continue a life in theater.
I want to thank my family, my mom, my dad, and my sister specifically. They have helped me through everything, and they support me no matter what I do. I want to thank Coach C back at home. Yeah, Coach C. I want to thank the haters because that's fuel. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for the haters. Thank you. Thank you. Keep it coming. I want to thank all of my fellow nominees.
I've gotten really good feedback on the speech. People really liked it. A lot of people are asking about the thanking the haters thing. Theater, not only does it make me better at theater when I do it, it also makes me a better person. I think that being able to relate to so many different experiences and do work and to so many different situations can make people much more mature and open to new things and open to communicating with people and easier being in front of people and talking to people and more outgoing. I just think that it really expands a person's character.
For the ATL Arts Collective, I'm Benji Carr.
You can read Benji's full story on artsatl.org. Jewel Wicker, having you here today is a treat because you've spent your career on both sides of the microphone, writing, reporting, hosting the former WABE podcast, The Boom. Does storyteller feel like the right title for you?
I think that's an appropriate title. Yeah, it really encompasses why I love to do the different types of reporting in the various mediums that I love to work in.
And what drives you to put these stories out into the world?
You know, I'm a Black Southerner. I'm an Atlanta native. I love arts and entertainment and culture. And I think even before I got into journalism, I just had a passion for these types of stories. And I continue to have that passion. And that's really what inspires me to want to tell folks all of these different stories that I do.
I love it. And how did you get into journalism?
I got into journalism because I originally thought I wanted to be a music manager. And then I realized very quickly after talking to my friends who were studying that or worked in that field that I didn't quite have the patience to manage artists. That's a big undertaking. But I really loved music and I really loved to write. And I got an internship actually in high school that went through college that allowed me to realize that there was a way for me to combine those two loves. And so I changed my major to journalism and started to study that. And that's kind of how I got here.
Oh, good for you. And good for your friends for helping you get in touch with the fact maybe that wasn't the right path for you.
It wasn't.
So you have an upcoming book. Congratulations. What can you tell us about Take It to Trial?
Thank you. Yeah, I am in the the thick of book writing and researching and reporting. So I am exhausted on all levels, but also really, really excited about this book. It is about the longest trial in Georgia history, the YSL trial featuring the rapper Young Thug and the rapper Gunna. It's a RICO trial, and I think it tells us a lot about culture in Atlanta, but also the criminal justice system in Atlanta, and also RICO, because I think there's a lot that people do not know about how Fulton County has historically used racketeering charges against not just Young Thug and rappers, but obviously the Cop City protesters, obviously President Donald Trump, and originally the Atlanta Public School cheating trial as well. So we'll be diving into all of that. It's a big undertaking, but I'm really excited about it.
That is a huge undertaking. And let's assume we're starting from ground zero with Rico. Could you explain that a little more?
Yeah, I think when a lot of people hear about RICO, they think about like The Godfather, Sopranos, right? Like these kind of like mafia style movies and TV shows. But what I've learned is that the state level RICO, specifically here in Georgia, are much broader than the federal RICO charges. So they allow for prosecutors to really go after folks that are beyond kind of this mafia style, gangsters that people might have in mind. Everyone from educators to, alleged like street crews to protesters. It's really a tool that prosecutors use because they can bring in a lot of things that they otherwise couldn't in other kind of indictments and trials. And so it allows them, from their perspective, to be able to tell the full story. But of course, critics say you're bringing in things that make it very likely that you're going to prosecute people when you wouldn't have been able to do so in other ways, and that's a little problematic.
Oh, yeah, that is fascinating. Well, I'm very much looking forward to the book. When do we expect it to be published?
Thank you. Look for it towards the end of next year, late 2027, early 2028. We don't have a set date yet, but around that time is when it'll come out.
So exciting. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
We're going to dig into your reporting on pen names in just a bit. But before we do, we need to get your official Atlanta credentials. This is Beats, Bites, and Sights, where our featured contributor gives us their ultimate local hit list. Jewel, let's start with Beats. Where is your go-to spot in the city to catch a live performance? This could be music, comedy, theater, whatever.
Ooh, that's a good question. I like a lot of the music venues here in Atlanta, but the Tabernacle has always had such a special place in my heart as an adult, but also when I think about my childhood and my teenage years of falling in love with music, I saw such a variety of artists at the Tabernacle, and I would stand outside. The concert didn't start till 7. I would get there at 2 p.m. and be waiting in the rain, sun, because I wanted to be the first person in the venue. I wanted to be right up there against the barricade in the front row in the pit. I'm a little older now, so I do not want to be in the pit. I would like to be in the chair. But those are and it's funny because I went to a concert at State Farm over the weekend, and I was telling a friend of mine, I'm like, I would wait outside after waiting hours to get into the venue, experiencing the concert. I would then wait outside in the back in the parking lot for the artists to come out, and they would come out and they would, hang out with us for a little bit, take pictures, maybe sign autographs before going to their tour bus. And it was just, again, it took a lot of energy. I don't know that I have the capacity for that anymore, but that really formed my love of music and the various genres that I love today. And so the Tabernacle always has a special place in my heart.
Oh, I love so much about this story. You are an ultimate fangirl, and that is a beautiful thing. And that venue, it is so special. We're so lucky.
We really are. We really are. It's beautiful. It's historic. It's incredible.
Indeed. All right. Well, next up is Bites. Where are we going if you want to get a great meal or a drink?
A place I really love is Kimball House in Decatur. I have loved that restaurant for a long time, but recently I got married a few months ago, and it is a place. Thank you so much. And it is a place that my husband and I really love. We go on birthdays. We got engaged. We went to celebrate our engagement. And it's just a really special place for me before I met him, and then bringing him there. Now he loves it too. And we go all the time, and they just have really fantastic food and drink. I always get mocktails, but he brags about their drinks as well. He says they're fantastic.
Yeah, they do have really good mixologists there.
Yep.
And something else that's really unique to Kimball House in the last couple of years, they were able to buy the building that they are housed in, which just does not happen often
that's
in Atlanta
incredible.
or Decatur. It
I
really
love it.
is. It really
Awesome.
is. All right, let's wrap up with sights. Where do you go in Atlanta when you need to stare at something beautiful or get inspired?
You know, I love museums. I love going to museums. And one of my favorite museums in Atlanta is the Museum of Design Atlanta, because I think they have such thoughtful installations, but they also have really incredible events. And I always not only get to see beautiful things, but I'm inspired because they make me think about the world in different ways. So I'm thinking through like some of the exhibits they've had, like the one on chocolate made me think about like the global export of chocolate and the global impact of it. Or, you know, they've had stuff on transportation or on food insecurity, things that, you know, are really interesting from a design perspective, but really makes me think about the way we design the world itself. And so they're one of my favorites. And they just recently did a public lecture series with Dr. Regina Bradley on hip hop, and how hip hop made Atlanta. That was really cool. So yeah, I love being able to not only see beautiful things, but it inspires me because it makes me reframe the way I'm thinking about these beautiful things. And so I love them.
What a fantastic choice. And you're right, they do cover exhibitions that I would have just never thought were going to be an exhibition at all. For example, right now, they are doing a show on salt and the history of salt. I haven't been yet. Have you?
I haven't been yet, but I was looking at it and I was like, oh, that looks so cool. I love that. Yeah.
Me too. All right. Well, wonderful choices. We're going to drop links to all of Jewel's recommendations in our show notes. But right now, let's turn things over to Jasmine Henschel from GULCH magazine. In our monthly series, Making It Work, Jasmine explores how Atlanta creatives manage to make a real living without falling into the starving artist trap. Today, she's talking with furniture maker and designer Robby Simon.
Hello, Robby. Thank you so much for sitting down with us today. Maybe you can start by just telling us a little bit about yourself and your role in the arts ecosystem here in Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm Robby Simon. I grew up, on the West Side, so I am a furniture maker, designer, and I work in what is called Black American design. I research and I love the contributions of what Black Americans have historically done, not only just inventions, but also just culturally. I'm just trying to showcase that work and teach it as a methodology so that other Black American designers or aspiring Black American designers can have a database or something that maybe they want to work in for their own culture.
So when we think about you making a living as a designer, as a furniture maker in Atlanta, what does making it work actually look like for you month to month?
I got a full-time job. I work in the tech industry. So I have like a non-tech job. So I work in meetings and events. That's how it goes. 8 hours a day, really 10, 12 hours a day. And then on the weekends, usually I make furniture. I design stuff. Having that 9 to 5, honestly, it gives me a lot of leverage.
Right.
Once you get to a certain place, if you want to showcase designs, if you want to apply for certain grants, you first got to pay to play. Like, for example, if you want to go do what's called ICFF, that's thousands of dollars, thousands. If you want to do Design Miami, thousands of dollars for like a booth space. And that is something that is always not talked about. There is a paywall for a lot of artists,
The way you've made it work, has that changed much over time from when you first started making furniture and doing, diving deeper into design?
Like, let's say, for example, I got a his and hers, sink. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Both faucets ain't on full blast all the time, you
Right.
know? And having that job is that leverage. Then I'm using a maker space at the moment, you know, while I build up funds to fund my having my own shop either at my home or, you know, somewhere else, making small batch items. And that's also why I veered toward the art world, is because I don't want to be a production shop, just don't have the time. And I think that it would harm the design that I make because of the stress.
How do you make decisions about where, like, what's worth your time when you're trying to balance, you know, the financial or economic side with your creative needs and these things?
There's a little bit too much of a grown-up attitude towards something innate to human nature. I'm just going to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, it is in me to make things. That's just what I'm going to do. Like, I would do this for free, right? I am this person. I am this way, right? Then there's the grown-up aspect of it where it's like, well, I guess if I am this way, I need to capitalize on it, you know? And I think that's the first bit of poison that we drink sometimes. It's like some of y'all just might not like doing it as a job.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think I would like doing it as a job. I think I would like doing it as an artist. And an artist doesn't have to be a job. You know, that's also the lie that the art world tells you also. Hey, you should spend all of this money and do this and in this kind of way, because if you don't do it in this kind of way, you have a less of a chance of being successful. And it's like, but I am this way. Human beings have made ceramics, lighting, built houses because they need them. Like, not because I'm a grown up and that's what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
You know, I choose what is intrinsic to me. Like, I chose to be a father. I chose to be a husband, you know, and I need to do that to the fullest ability. If I'm not doing that well, first and foremost, I'm not going to be able to do anything else well. I can do anything for money. I can be a garbage man and a craftsman and designer, you know, whatever it takes to fuel the things that it takes to be a human being.
How does being based in Atlanta in particular shape the way that you make a living as a furniture maker, a designer, and art? Do you think there are any particular benefits or challenges that you personally have experienced?
There is a lot of camaraderie, you know, there is a lot of like groundswell, like what's going on? Like, how can we work together? I don't know, man. I love Atlanta. I'm an Atlanta like apologist, bro. Like I literally, I think that Atlanta is the greatest place to live in the United States. It's such a unique and amazing, weird, surreal place. But also, like, if you do care about diversity, if you do care about all of those different things that we champion in the arts world, there is literally no better place than Atlanta, you know? I mean, we live amongst each other in a way that other places don't, because we're also battling centuries of embedded, like, institutionalized segregation. And we still find a way to come together. I'll tell it like this. If you know one person in Atlanta from one scene, you know 300 people. Like that, like legitimately for real. Like, it's so crazy. That's how I got into furniture design and making. I was like, oh, I knew this guy that I was at a photo shoot with. And I said, man, I really want to get into like making furniture. He said, man, that's crazy. I know a guy that builds furniture. His name is Robel. Would you like to meet him? And he's also a Black American furniture designer. And I was like, that's crazy. And then I met him. Like, that's literally how it works. You know,
we've spoken offline about your thesis and a lot of this thinking you're doing about the conceptual side of your process. I would love if you want to tell us more about how being in, like, contextualized in the world that you're in shapes the way that, you know, you're making a living.
Atlanta is just the city of culture, you know, and so and so much Black American culture as like, this is the birthplace of Martin Luther King Jr. I am literally almost walking distance from his house, which is so crazy to me. You get these tidbits of like a past that you didn't live, but you're a part of, you know, this continuation that happens subconsciously. And I wanted to pull together as much resources as possible into this field that I'm working in, that I don't see a lot of Black people working in, so that they have fuel to be able to enter it. It's like, well, we belong to something that has changed the earth. Like hip hop itself has changed the planet. It is the global GDP of the earth, when it comes to culture. There are people in Japan that literally are emulating Black people from Atlanta right now. Dead serious. They're getting locks. They're wearing weird, like skinny jeans. They're wearing black Air Forces. It's crazy. Like they're wearing Nike Tech ski mat. Like it's like, yo, what are y'all doing? It's wild, man. It's wild to see. But it's like particularly Southern Black culture has influenced like the entire earth. And so being a part of that, it's worth exploring. I believe that being a Black American is like an ethnic trait. Just after doing all of this research, it's its own ethnicity, and I love that so much. And so all of that passion for, the things that I'm studying is only able to be done because I can leverage the life that I've built off of having a job.
Yeah, I think there's an interesting, like, counterintuitive element to it. So many people come from the perspective of like, I can't get a full-time job because then I'll have no time or no energy to do this. But I think you are a testament to the fact that it's not always true. In fact, often it is the opposite. By setting yourself up with the security of whatever a job may provide, you're able to just have this well of energy that you can dedicate to your practice and your craft.
Exactly. In the art world, that's always something like pricing your work. After what I just explained to you, it's priceless to me, and that's why you should do something and build something that is priceless to you, because you won't mind being like, yeah, this dining table that I created with all these different motifs, the things I studied, this is why these things look like this. Yeah, I love it. And I don't care if I don't get rid of it. I think it's worth $5,000 or whatever the heck it costs. You know what I mean? And it's like, I think it's worth that much because I would do it for free. And if you don't buy it, I'll just keep it. Once you have your basics taken care of, which is what the job does, that faucet's on all the time. Says now I'm kind of able to like fund something else with it. I can get this tool I've always wanted to use. I can get this, I can take a class I've always wanted to take. That's the human part. That stuff just fuels me.
Amazing. Whew. Okay, so a couple final things to sort of wrap up, tie our conversation together. So is there anything in particular that you'd like to promote or invite people to?
Sure. This fall, I will be participating in Atlanta's Design Week. And I'll be hopefully debuting as many pieces as possible from my work, my thesis, and just what I've been working in. So that new collection. And that will be be on the lookout for Casa Yamweze. That is this amazing like design foray for Black artists.
Anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
Everybody just keep going, bro. I do think that there is a renaissance coming. And if you are an Atlanta-based artist, I think that, we had the Harlem Renaissance, I think we need an Atlanta Renaissance too, and especially for Black artists, brown artists, like let's all come together. Like that's why I push, cultural modality and cultural methodology so much, because they're trying so hard to suppress the cultures of people that have built this country. And I think that it is a beautiful way to resist. So please make something, learn about yourself, where you come from, and make something to piss them off. So thank you.
On that note, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Robby. It was truly a pleasure and a joy to talk to you today.
Thank you so much.
You can check out more of Jasmine's work over at GULCHmagazine.com. Next up, we're headed to Eyedrum for their Monday night creative music series, a weekly home for experimental, avant-garde, and improvisational sounds. ArtsATL reporter Doug DeLoach stopped by to see how this event has become such a welcoming hub for the city's underground music scene.
In a warehouse performance space on Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard, a dozen or so musicians are seated in a circle, performing for an audience of about 50 people. Their instruments include a saxophone, 2 trumpets, a trombone, bassoon, flute, bass guitar, mandolin, violin, tablas, a drum kit, and other percussion gadgetry. The ensemble conductor, Grady Cousins, a longtime Atlanta performance artist across multiple genres, is in the middle of the circle. Alternately sitting, standing, contorting, and gesturing with his hands, Cousins directs the ensemble, first in an abbreviated version of the sharply percussive Ramayana monkey chant, and then in support of a lovely vocal section having to do with being, quote, on that road, unquote. His highly trained, dulcet-toned voice and expressive body language urge the ensemble along an entirely improvised, mesmerizingly anthemic trajectory. 45 or so minutes into the performance, as the music ascends to a wailing crescendo, Cousins brings everything to an abrupt halt, leaving the musicians and audience no choice but to stop and listen. Just listen. Minutes tick by. Outside of the room, a bus accelerates away from a traffic light. An EMT siren wails. Indistinct voices speak. Inside, the air thrums with electrical current. The steel window frames crack with the wind. The extended stillness and random noise morphs into a deeply introspective, nearly spiritual experience. Eventually, a few folks, overcome by self-consciousness and pent-up energy, can no longer contain themselves. Smiles appear, followed by giggles, and then full-blown ecstatic laughter. Then everyone in the room leaps up to their feet, applauding and shaking their heads in euphoric harmony. Thus concludes another installment of the Monday Night Creative Music Series at Eyedrum Art and Music Gallery. The Monday Night Creative Music Series was founded in the fall of 2025 by a group of Atlanta-based musicians: Catherine Young, Alexandria Smith, Ipek Ngili, Will Hamilton, Kebby Williams, and Jeff Albert, who also performed at the series' inaugural concert. Here's a brief clip from that auspicious performance. The following Monday featured solo improvisations by New York-based drummer-guitarist Kevin Murray and Chicago-based guitarist-saxophonist Will Green, plus a trio consisting of multi-instrumentalist Majid Araim, vocalist Monique Osorio, and guitarist Alex Cohen, all from Atlanta. Rounding out the first month of the MNCMS was a solo performance by former local saxophonist-composer Jeff Crompton. The MNCMS defines itself as an open and welcoming space for Atlanta's creative musicians and curious audiences. Its programming supports the city's diverse musical communities, primarily focused on improvised, experimental, avant-garde jazz, contemporary classical, electronic, and other non-mainstream musical practices. With the one-year anniversary approaching in September, bassoonist Katie Young says the MNCMS was a project whose time had come.
There just seemed to be a lot of us who agreed that it was time for a weekly series that would facilitate setting up concerts for musicians coming through town, from out of town. For me, personally, I was excited about this because I feel like I was constantly missing shows. It's hard to sometimes find out about what's happening. Instagram is a horrible way to learn about events. And so I was like, if there is a show every Monday, then you just know. And maybe you can't come every week, but you just know it's going to be awesome.
Atlanta has long been a nurturing ground for edgy, experimental DIY music makers, from the underground laboratory era of the 1980s and 90s through the present day, when progressive education programs at Georgia State, Georgia Tech, Clark Atlanta, and Emory universities are churning out super talented young musicians, composers, and technologists, particularly in the realms of jazz, contemporary classical, and multimedia studies. While Atlanta offers a number of opportunities to test out or refine ideas in front of a modest but loyal group of patrons at select venues, the MNCMS occupies a special niche in the firmament, according to trombonist Jeff Albert.
Yeah, I feel like there was a little thing in the zeitgeist. We had all been involved in regular ongoing series at points in time in various places. And, there just wasn't a thing like that in Atlanta at the moment. There were similar things, but the consistency of something every week is both good for musical development and social development. We all have friends in other places that travel, and it's nice to say, well, look, if you can be here on a Monday, we can give you a gig and get to hear you play and share your music.
So far, the MNCMS has presented more than 60 concerts featuring adventurous music from all over the planet. Performers such as Lena Andonovska, a North Macedonian flutist who mostly trained in Australia and is currently working on her PhD at Emory. Kara Mergener, a Turkish-born electronic music composer and multimedia artist who spent 4 years as a lecturer in residence at the King Mongkut Institute of Technology in Bangkok. And then there's Tatsuya Nakatani. Originally from Osaka, Japan, he now resides in Truth or Consequences in Mexico. Nakatani specializes in solo improvisational percussion and leads the Gong Orchestra, which allows non-musicians from the local community to play large bowed gongs in an ensemble setting.
So the things that we feature are like ultra creative on the far end of the spectrum of creativity and experiments and trying things and people's projects, that push limits. And to have a consistent place where that happens, is just so gold.
That was Kebby Williams, one of the founding curators of the Monday Night Creative Music Series, a Grammy-winning saxophonist, composer, improviser, community organizer, and leader of the Wolfpack Jazz Ensemble. Williams has been a major force on the Atlanta music scene for a couple of decades. Here he is performing at Eyedrum with Kenito Murray on drums, Bill Pritchard on bass, and Jeff Albert on trombone.
Having a place to come to and knowing that somebody's going to be there pushing limits is just so valuable and educational, even for like the most professional of musicians, because you're not in everybody's mind, man, and the far reaches of somebody's mind, probably not like yours.
So far, the response to the MNCMS has been overwhelmingly positive, somewhat to the surprise of its progenitors, according to Albert.
What I thought was going to take 6 to 8 months, we were at that level of people embracing it in a month or two. And the beautiful thing is we have a lot of regulars who aren't musicians. A lot of times we're playing for our own people. It's all the people who make the music. But we have many regulars who are just people who like interesting music and come hang out.
The Monday Night Creative Music Series at Eyedrum is all set to put something different between your ears. Check out the series calendar at eyedrum.org, and let's close with an excerpt from an MNCMS concert featuring Matt Booth on bass, Isaac Bishop on saxophone, Cameron Wilson on drums, and Jeff Albert on trombone. For the ATL Arts Collective, I'm Doug DeLoach.
You can read Doug's full write-up at ArtsATL.org. We're going to take a quick break for our sponsors, but when we return, Jewel is diving into the secretive world of pen names, and we're going to learn why more writers are choosing to hide their real identities. Stick around.
Support comes from the Sun ATL, combining the elegance of a fine art gallery with the depth of a museum and the versatility of a premier meeting and event space. Located 1 block from the King Center in the Sweet Auburn district, the Sun ATL showcases photography alongside modern, contemporary, and outsider art by local and international artists. Open 11 to 5 on Fridays and Saturdays and by appointment. Explore exhibitions, plan your visit, or inquire about events at thesunatl.com.
Welcome back. Jewel, you have brought a really compelling piece with you today about pen names. What drew you to this topic, and why did you want to dive into it now?
So I was drawn to this topic because I have interviewed and followed the writer Kennedy Ryan for quite some time. She writes romance novels, and her popular Skyland series is actually inspired by Atlanta, Emmon Park specifically. And so I followed her, and I follow a lot of people on Book Talk and people who, are on Threads talking about books. And she started to go viral a few weeks ago because she was talking on the Today Show about using a pen name. And apparently, some people didn't know that. And so it started all this viral discussion around the use of pen names, which was fascinating to me because authors have used pen names forever. That's not a thing that is in any way new to 2026. But I was fascinated by the ways that social media can sometimes heighten these conversations. And I was curious about the ways in which authors might feel that expectations have grown in regards to how they interact with readers in this day and age and the expectations that readers have of them. So I wanted to dig into that and see what that looked like from an author's perspective.
Oh, that's a great angle to go at this. Okay, here is Jewel Wicker on the power and privacy of the pen name.
How much do you know about your favorite author? Could you describe what they look like? Where do they live? Do you even know their real name? I was talking to a friend last year about How the Grinch Stole Christmas when I casually mentioned that Dr. Seuss is a pen name. My friend was shocked. Everyone knows the stories of The Cat in the Hat and Green Eggs and Ham. They're classics. Dr. Seuss's work has been a lasting part of popular culture for generations. But most people don't know that the famed author and illustrator, whose real name is Theodore Geisel, did not have an advanced degree, or that Seuss was his middle name, as well as his mother's maiden name. Pen names are hardly new in literature, but in the digital age, there are more and more chances for authors and readers to connect with one another. Today, readers are likely to follow their favorite author on Instagram or Threads. They might even watch clips of them being interviewed on YouTube or TikTok. This is how some fans of the romance author Kennedy Ryan came to learn that the acclaimed author writes under a pen name. The Atlanta-based author behind books like this year's Score and the 2022 novel Before I Let Go recently sat down with the Today Show's Jenna Bush Hager to discuss why she uses a pseudonym. In the interview, the author said, quote, "When I got my first book deal, I was working and there was an HR department and you had to take anything that you were doing outside of the company to them. And I was like, oh, I have a book deal. And they were like, that's great. You're going to have to write it under a pseudonym. Whatever you're writing can't be associated with us, so you have to write under a pseudonym." End quote. The romance author and former journalist said she came up with the name because it's what she'd always imagined she'd name her daughter. Even as she engages with fans online, the pen name has given her a cloak of privacy. Continuing to explain in the Today Show interview, Kennedy Ryan said, quote, "I'm kind of glad. I like a little bit of distance. I like a little distance. I share my mental health. I'm very open about everything, but there's parts of my life I like to horn off. I kind of like being able to retreat into that." End quote. The discussion was a very small moment from a larger conversation that was more than 35 minutes long. But in the week that followed the Today Show interview, Kennedy Ryan's use of a pen name dominated conversations in online book communities. Some fans were shocked to learn this wasn't Kennedy's real name. Others found and published her real name on social media platforms. The discussions intensified from there, bringing up questions about privacy and the relationship between readers and authors in the digital age. Jacinta Howard is a journalist and a fiction author here in Atlanta. Her latest romance novel, When 40 Blooms, was released last year. I called her up to get her insights on the discussion and how social media has intensified the relationship between authors and readers in past years. She told me since she first started publishing in 2014, she's paid attention to the expectations placed on authors, especially in the romance genre, where writers are often telling intimate, vulnerable stories.
I find that a lot of fiction writers are using pen names in Atlanta and beyond. Specifically in the romance space, I do find that it's a pretty common practice.
Like Kennedy, a lot of authors are starting out writing while also working a traditional job. Using a pen name allows them to do their day job and their side hustle without the two interfering with one another.
I think that because social media has made authors so much more visible, and like there's this expectation for them to constantly be accessible. I think that pen names they're not really effective as like a quote unquote disguise. People are showing their faces, their routines, etc. But I do think they're important as like boundaries for a lot of authors. And I feel like, those boundaries should be respected. And I'm not even sure that Kennedy, I'm not had a conversation with her about this, but I know Kennedy has said her name. And so I don't know that she was it's some deep, dark secret, but it's also the intentionality. What is your intention, for revealing her name or whatever, for speaking her name on Threads? What were you trying to accomplish exactly?
Jacinta doesn't use a pseudonym for her fictional work, despite being a journalist too. I spoke with another local writer who has said the same thing.
I also don't know that a pen name was ever an option. You know what I mean? Because I didn't come to writing as an author. I came to it from journalism.
Kalundra Smith is a journalist whose culture reporting has inspired her work as a playwright. For instance, an assignment about the Atlanta washerwomen's strike of 1881 inspired her debut play, The Wash. Her forthcoming play, Other Paths to God, was similarly inspired and debuts at Horizon Theater on October 9th.
People who know my work as a journalist have also followed me to playwriting. So the brand of Kalundra Smith, the writer, was established before I ever wrote a play.
What's fascinating is how the use of pen names varies across mediums. Even in fictional literature, it varies across genres. Jacinta says pen names can be used to create distance between works, even within the literary space. For instance, she says one of the narrators she works with on her audiobooks has recorded Pulitzer Prize-winning fiction books under his legal name, but he uses a pseudonym when recording romance books. It's hard to stay truly anonymous in the digital age, but the use of pen names seems to represent efforts to guard some semblance of boundaries in an increasingly accessible time. For the ATL Arts Collective, I'm Jewel Wicker.
That was today's featured contributor, Jewel Wicker. It's time now for ArtsATL's Best Bets with executive editor Shane Harrison. This week, Shane's top picks include the world premiere screening of When Faith Calls, a brand new exhibition at Whitespace, and Hacking Hip Hop at the Atlanta History Center.
Are you ready for fall? I know I am, and for more than one reason. Sure, it's hot and humid, but autumn also means the return of lots of arts programming. For now, the pickings are still a tad slim, but there are a few fascinating options in the coming week. It's been called the Ultimate Pan-Indian Dance Concert, and it's coming to Gas South Arena in Duluth on Sunday, August 2nd. It stars choreographer, dancer, actor, and film director Prabhu Deva. Often referred to as the Indian Michael Jackson for his exceptional dance skills, Deva is known for his contributions to both Bollywood and South Indian cinema during his 30-year career. The King Center will host a world premiere screening of When Faith Calls on July 30th at the Carter Center, presenting a mini docu-series that returns to the spiritual and moral foundations of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s life and leadership. The series brings together voices from faith, history, and the civil rights movement to explore the beliefs, relationships, and moral choices that shaped King's vision of justice. Blair Underwood and Felicia Rashad lend their voices to the series. Stand-up comedian and popular TikToker Heather Shaw will perform 5 shows at the Punchline from Friday, July 31st through Sunday, August 2nd. She has nearly 3 million followers on TikTok and almost 1 million on Instagram, and she's been called the lesbian Jim Carrey. How about a night of yacht rock? 2 exemplars of the often maligned but still much loved genre, Toto and Christopher Cross, will perform at Amerispank Amphitheater in Alpharetta on Sunday, August 2nd. The Romantics, less yacht rock and more powerboat pop, will open the show. The band's drummer is Atlanta's own Mike Rizzi, who has worked with John Driscoll Hopkins, 5'8", Michelle Malone, Ed Roland, and many others. On Saturday, August 1st, the Mabel House Amphitheater will host a night of old-school hip-hop led by Dougie Fresh. The evening also includes performances by Big Daddy Kane, Chubb Rock, Rakim, Slick Rick, and Kwame. The perpetually touring Bob Dylan shows no sign of stopping at the age of 85. He's back in Atlanta for a show at Sonova Spank Amphitheater at Chastain Park on Friday, July 31st. The lineup for the evening also includes the great Lucinda Williams and Jimmy Vaughn. White Space presents Heart of a Bird, a solo exhibition by Atlanta-based artist Constance Talkin, which opens with a reception Saturday evening, August 1st. Featuring photographs from the forthcoming book of the same name, the exhibition brings together images made over many years while working in small communities throughout the Southeast and along the Gulf Coast from Florida to Texas. The show will be on view through September 12th. Coming up next week, learn from author Jocelyn Wilson how hip-hop functions as a powerful design methodology through remix, storytelling, and cultural memory as she discusses her new book, Hacking Hip Hop, at the Atlanta History Center at 7 p.m. on August 4th. For the ATL Arts Collective and ArtsATL, I'm Shane Harrison.
Shane curates an expanded list of events every week at artsatl.org. Well, we have reached the end for today. Special thanks to this week's featured contributor, Jewel Wicker. Jewel, thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
It has been a pleasure. And, before we go, a quick bit of exciting news from our team. Starting August 5th, the ATL Arts Collective is moving into a brand new home. Thanks to a media grant from CP Group, we'll be broadcasting from our new podcast studio at the center, which is the former CNN building. We'll be launching a video version of the show, and I can't wait to show you what we've been building there. In the meantime, if you'd like to help with our production costs, head over to atlartscollective.com and click the support link. And if you've enjoyed today's show, please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It is the absolute best way to help other Atlanta art lovers find us. You can find photos, links, and show notes at artsatl.org/podcast or follow us on social at ArtsAtlanta and at ATL Arts Collective. The ATL Arts Collective is part of the Wordplay Collective podcast family. Be sure to check out our sister show, In Pieces with Our Land. I'm Kim Drobes. Go support some local art this weekend, and we will see you next week.